This is Geek Gab for Monday, March 10th, 2023. And we are live. Finally, we are back. Today is Body Horror Monday. We're talking about The Substance, which had a narrow miss at winning a Best Picture Oscar, apparently. And we're going a little bit back in time to see SCAVENGER'S REIGN, which was an HBO show but is now on Netflix. And I also watched a horror movie called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies last night, which absolutely is not a body horror movie, but had a lot of bodies in it as a horror movie. So, I'm just going to stick that in if we have extra time at the end.
Right on.
But before we get there, do you have anything to talk about at the top of the show?
Yeah, man. I don't know if it's been on your radar, but I've been checking out the latest season of Reacher season 3. Did you see that was out?
No, I did not notice that was out. I
Well,
probably should have, since I flashed past it and I saw commercials for Reacher, but I didn't pay attention to see that it was season 3.
Well, we don't need to do a full episode on it, but I'll give you a sneak preview. They have discovered that the primary target demographic is women, and you will see Alan Richardson, Richmond, I think, in his underwear at least once an episode for the first 4 episodes.
That just sounds scintillating.
this
Boy, howdy.
This TV series is, as they say, for the ladies.
But we're not allowed to do that for any TV series that is for men, because we're not allowed to make TV series for men anymore.
The male gaze is verboten.
Okay, just checking to see that the same rules still apply.
The same rules do still apply. Yeah, it's got the Reacher formula. There's, some nefarious criminals, violent criminals. There's lots of violence and murder, and there's a female love interest cop who he's almost certainly going to sleep with by the end of the story, and there you go. If you liked the first 2 seasons, keep watching.
Is the female cop like a self-insert character, or is she appealing?
Well, first of all, the character, this is based off of a book. The book's name is The Persuader, and apparently each season of Reacher is based off of one of the novels. And what I gathered from someone who reads them is that they're very formulaic. There's the Reacher book follows a few certain things, and so the love interest or relationship character who is part of law enforcement or whatever, or helps him out, that he he invariably sleeps with by the end of the book, that sort of thing. That's a stock character in a Reacher show. So half of that answer is it's moot. Not really. The other half of that answer is, let's just say that the love interest characters have gotten progressively less attractive as the seasons go on.
I see.
Once again, Daddy Warpig, this season of television is for the ladies. And we can't have our audience feeling threatened by exceptionally beautiful love interests. So there you have it.
Well, that's just unfortunate.
I'm enjoying it well enough. But it's nothing. It's really nothing different from the last 2 seasons.
Okay. I got some big news today.
I'm at the edge of my seat.
Some groundbreaking news that is sure to shock everyone on the planet. As I mentioned, like last week or the week before or something, the second season, HBO's The Last of Us, is coming out. So Neil Druckmann, the single soul and solitary genius behind The Last of Us, for whom no one else in the world ever did any creative work on, honest, you can ask him, was in an interview, and the interviewer asked him if there was ever going to be any more Last of Us games. And despite the smashing success of The Last of Us 2, only losing 50% of the audience from The Last of Us 1, just a 50% drop, which I think, given how bad the game was, given how insulting to the audience it was, given how it completely crapped over the one character everybody really, really, really paid attention to, really loved, the fact that it only dropped 50% was I think absolutely a landmark achievement he should be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom for. The fact that it was only a 50% drop, I think, was a quality achievement we should all applaud. Even so, there's not going to be another Last of Us. We have had in this country the last of The Last of Us. So it is shocking. It is surprising. It is tragic. Tears burn my eyes even at this moment. So I had to rush to the show to share that news.
Well, I had some money set aside for some pre-orders, and I guess I'll repurpose that for, I don't know, some dental work or something.
No. You can save your Last of Us pre-order money because I've got some more good news for you.
All right, let's go.
They've announced how much Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to cost. Just this last week. Now, admittedly, this was a rumor. I don't think this was a complete. Well, actually, I'll be honest. It was somebody else saying this. It wasn't Rockstar Take-Two, their corporate slave owners. I mean, masters. I mean, owners. Boy, this is just not getting any better. Sorry, guys. I'm really trying to get to a better term here. The corporate dominatrix. Anyways, the people with the whips and change who have thoroughly, assaulted that franchise. I believe they told somebody this so that they could leak it, so that they could get the news out there to see how people react. And if they reacted badly, then they could deny the story and then go ahead and charge the same amount anyway when the game comes out. Because that's how corporate America do in the lovely year of 2025. The amount of money that they're charging for Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, I think games right now are running about $70, right? For
Oh, beats
brand
me.
new console games are running about $70, $80 if you buy the deluxe games, like $99 if you buy the ultra deluxe games with the 3 or 4 extra skins packed in. And $109 if you buy whatever with the multiplayer, cash money. What do they call those? Currencies, special currencies, whatever. Well, for the base game, the bottom tier, almost the scum base game, the kind of game you have to buy if you are barely able to spell the word console, much less own it. They're charging you $99.99.
Yeah, okay.
Which means the game with the season pass that includes all the DLC, that's been about $20 to $30 more. That's going to set you back $125 reduce.
That's insane.
$125 with all the DLC included. And it's not just Grand Theft Auto 6. When Grand Theft Auto 6 gets away with charging that, because they will, everybody else is going to charge that. Because that's just the way this industry works.
Brutal, man.
It's just, I mean, how do we let them get away with this? I don't know. I have a prediction that much like the recent Captain America movie, or Avowed had what they thought were going to be good, solid opening numbers, and it seemed like they were, and then everything dropped off a cliff, and nobody played it any longer. They're down to like 4,500, 4,800 players, and sales have just, they have angled in, burning like a plane that was shot down. So I predict that Grand Theft Auto 6 will sell really well right out of the gate, and maybe even for the first month or two. But I think it's going to suck. I think the game is going to be an absolute disaster, and it's just not going to sell well beyond that.
Well, I can't argue with you there.
I do not think it's going to be as big a hit, as big a cultural phenomenon as Grand Theft Auto 5 was. And I don't think it's going to be as good as Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, they've been told to tone down all the politically incorrect stuff. If you looked at all the pictures of the beaches and everything, they have gone full on body positivity, which is just, eye bleach. Who wants body positivity in a Grand Theft Auto game? Who wants all of the stupid toilet humor out of a Grand Theft Auto game? That's why we play Grand Theft Auto. Who wants just a bunch of political gobbledygook thrown into the game because the current owners have decided that that's the way they decided, 6 years ago, that that's the way the industry was going, and now it's too late to change. So that's my prediction based on what I've seen. And I think that's all the relevant news I had for today. Oh yeah, I did mention Captain America crashed and burned. I did want to talk a little bit about Mickey 17, the movie I was a little bit looking forward to. That's the new movie with the last Batman. What's his name? Who was in the Twilight movies?
Oh,
Pattinson,
yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, yeah.
So the main bad guy in the movie, it's just a warning. I did not see it. It's just a warning. The main bad guy in the movie is a cross between a certain political figure in America and a televangelist, and you might detect the subtle hints as to who this figure is, the big evil man, because all of his supporters wear red caps.
Oh, who could that be?
So if you can judge the fact that the rest of the movie is less subtle in its attempts at satire than the fact that this televangelist slash parody of a political figure, all of his supporters wear red caps. Judging based on that, that's the quality of movie you want to go see. So I'm not saying you shouldn't go see it. I'm just saying if you do go see it, be prepared for that. That's what you're in store for.
Hooray.
So again, I did not see it. I am not reviewing it, but that's what I've heard. So take it for what it's worth.
It is getting absolutely savaged in all critics. It's got like a 10% Rotten Tomatoes. Absolutely
really?
savaged. Yeah.
10% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's how do you, holy crap. That's really hard to believe that a movie that is based on savaging this specific political figure gets a score that low. You really have to work hard.
Oh, yeah, that must have been an old story. It's way up now. 72%, 79% tomato.
Oh, okay. Okay. They must have finally realized who it's making fun of and been like, oh.
This is the
All right.
guy. This is the guy who did. It's Bong Joon-ho, who did
The Parasite.
The Parasite, which that was a good movie. I liked it, but yeah. Oh, here's the cast. Brilliant Mark Ruffalo. Yeah. I'm out.
He fortunately, because it made the movie not as bad as it should be. He played the political figure. Sorry, I was being sarcastic there. Could you tell? Because you know you're going to get a good quality performance out of Mark Ruffalo playing that kind of parody. Anyways, moving on. Sorry, I've savaged that movie enough. We wasted enough time on that movie. Let's jump up to the next thing. Let's go for the substance. Why not? Why the heck not? The Substance, which you may have heard of, is the movie with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. I have never found Margaret Qualley to be all that attractive in the roles I've seen her in, which admittedly have been limited to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Death Stranding. And maybe that's a bit unfair for Death Stranding because she was, digitally animated based on 8-year-old technology. But they really went all out to highlight her physical features to make her attractive in this movie, because that's the entire point. Now, here's the first thing you've got to understand about The Substance. People may have told you it's a movie they may have told you that there are things called characters in this movie. They may have even expressed that there's something called a plot. And those are technical terms. Those are what they call terms of art that some things called movies occasionally have. However, I wish to disabuse anyone in the audience who is listening to this show. I do not want you to go into this movie thinking that there are things such as characters in the movie, or that there are things such as a plot, because there is no plot in this movie. There are no characters in this movie. Now, there are events that happen one after another, but they do not serve the purpose of what you would exactly call a story. They serve the purpose of making a polemical point. For example, if I were to sit down and say to you, for the sake of argument, assume that everyone who plays 4th edition D&D has brain damage. And every time they played the game, they drooled all over the table. And you said, okay, fine. Let me assume that everyone who plays 4th edition D&D has brain damage, and every time they played the game, they drew it all over the table. Okay, you would assume I was going somewhere, but not because I was telling a story, because I had some point that perhaps I would be making somewhere along the line, right? That's the setup to making an argument. That's not the setup to telling a story, right?
Sure, I'm with you.
Okay. Well, this entire movie is a sequence of events that the director hides in terms as if they're telling a story, but what they really are is a bunch of steps making an argument. For the sake of argument, assume that you've got this Hollywood actress who used to be really big in movies, but now all she does is work in this morning show where she does exercise TV shows every morning. And she's 50. She's going to get fired. And there's this magic injection that she can take that will split off this other version of her that's still her, but it's like this younger, hotter version of her. Okay? And she has to do it because otherwise she'll lose her job. And then, for the sake of argument, and the entire movie is about old women have it tough in Hollywood. Okay.
Wow, that's deep.
I mean, I'm not saying the director's wrong. Everybody knows when ladies get older, Hollywood kicks them to the curb. We all know that. They get treated very badly in Hollywood. That's always been Hollywood's thing. Now, there are some actresses who are very lucky and their career keeps going even when they get older. Meryl Streep, Glenn Close. There are some actresses who their career starts when they get older, because they come on and they're playing the cranky old lady or the lovely old grandmother or whatever. Helen Mirren got started when she was young and really attractive and has kept up a solid career without any gaps. Some actresses have to take a break for like 10 or 20 years and then come back when they have gotten to be the sort of age to where they'll be able to play older roles that Hollywood will cast them in. So she's technically correct, but she destroys all the interesting things she could have done with this substance, with this sequence of events that could have formed a much more interesting story if she'd been interested in telling a story rather than just screaming at the top of her lungs. This is a French director who is called a neo-feminist, and she was just more interested in screaming at the top of her lungs than in making a interesting or involved movie. The characters' emotions are very cliched. They're very shallow. They're very superficial. They're all extreme and on the surface and overplayed. I mean, the show that the younger version of her, Demi Moore's younger version, is played by Margaret Qualley. I didn't make that clear. Apologize. But the show they put her on, and I want to list all the ways this doesn't work. It's on network television in the mornings, but it is pornographic in the skimpiness of the outfits that they wear and in the grotesque manner in which they perform their exercises. You could not get away with this.
That's weird.
And
maybe in France.
It's supposed to be, I guess, satire. But here's the thing. They also have two male dancers with the hot females, one of whom is entirely topless. Like he has this pair of hot shorts on. And I'm trying to figure out, if you're trying to quote unquote satirize Hollywood's lust for young flesh, which fine,
it's a valid topic.
30 years ago, that would have been a valid topic. Not so much nowadays, but 30 years ago. Why would you stick something that only appeals to gay men in the middle of it? There is no straight man who is going to watch a 23 or 22-year-old hottie doing exercises with other beautiful women and an almost fully nude man in the background. Because
there's another big thing that this whole setup is missing, which is men don't watch daytime TV. Men don't watch the morning exercise show.
Yeah.
If it's during the daytime hours, as much as anybody watches TV anymore, the people who watch TV regularly are dying out. Daytime TV is for women.
Yes.
So it makes no sense. The whole setup makes no sense.
And, you know, it was being sold as this body horror thing, but they completely, there is some genuine scenes of some pretty cool body horror in it, but they're too few and too far between. And the director is, now I'm an action movie guy. Everybody knows I like action movies. I like fast cuts. I like car chases. I like, you know, gunfights. But this director has a twitchy finger in the editing booth. He does not allow things to linger that need to linger like literally half a second or a second longer. She cuts right before the horror reaches the pitch where you need it to actually impact your emotions. And it robs these scenes of all their impact. You're like, oh, I almost felt some genuine emotion there. It was right in the palm of my hand and she snatched it away. I almost felt like I connected with the character there for just a moment. I almost felt repelled or scared for a moment. There is a cool fight scene in the movie when some accidents happen and the younger and older versions of the character meet and have this beat down in the apartment. That was actually kind of a cool scene, not worth watching the rest of the movie to get to. I don't want to trick you. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, that's worth getting to see. It's not. It just was really funny. I mean, it is a good fight scene. It's even a well shot fight scene. It's not worth watching the rest of the movie to get to. It just was a high point in the rest of the low part of the movie. And then there was the special effects. At one point, everything goes completely off the rails with the substance because you knew it was going to from the beginning of the movie, because that's why you're there. This is not the movie to go see if it starts the movie with the substance and everything goes fine with it and all the instructions are followed and things don't go horribly wrong.
Right.
Now, here's the thing about it, and this is actually a good touch. The things that go wrong with the substance are not the fault of some nefarious corporation experimenting on the main character. They are genuinely entirely the character's fault. There are specific and exact instructions you have to follow. If you do not follow the instructions, bad things happen. The character does not follow the instructions, bad things happen. So it wasn't preachy about, you know, medical corporations experimenting on you. It was just her fault why everything went sideways. So I was like, oh, hey, they didn't smash every possible cliche into this movie and they could have. That's kind of refreshing. I didn't say it was a big good point. It was just a nice point. Sometimes you have to take the happy moments where you can find them. So you remember low in the long ago days when I reviewed The Toxic Avenger?
Of course.
Have you ever watched The Toxic Avenger?
Only bits and pieces.
Did you ever notice the quality of the kind of rubbery looking prosthetics that they put Toxie in?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I want you to mentally imagine Toxie and turn the quality of those prosthetics up maybe 10, maybe a full 15%. So we're talking 80s B-movie horror quality prosthetics. And that's what the climax of the movie, that's the quality of prosthetics they put Demi Moore in. In a movie nominated for a Best Oscar. Now, maybe I'm being cruel. Maybe it was a full 20% above Toxic Avenger, but it was not much higher than that. They look cheap. They look crappy. I've seen a lot of bad 80s horror movies in the last year. So I've been watching them here and there in between other things, and they looked bad. They looked rubbery. They looked fake. And there were some parts of the costume that, in theory at least, were kind of genuinely disturbing. You're like, oh, yeah, if I could have seen that effect done well, that would have been kind of gross. That would have been body horror-ish. It was not done well. It was done badly. So, and then they start trying to kill the horror. Oh. One of the things I made fun of the Star Wars prequels for was when Darth Vader finally emerges and he steps off of the stand and he steps off just like Frankenstein, exactly like Frankenstein off the slab. And he says, no.
Right.
Well, she comes out and she finally gets exposed to the audience. Like they finally shine. The character's been set up to do the New Year's Eve network special. Like she has Dick Clark's place to do New Year's Eve nationwide. So instead of beautiful Margaret Qualley stepping out, I should say sexy Margaret Qualley because I still don't. Anyways, sees this ugly, hideous monster. And the audience stands up and points at her and recites lines that are literally from the Universal Frankenstein movie. Oh no! Look! It's a monster! It's hideous! Kill the monster! and then they start trying to attack it and start cutting off pieces of her, and then the blood sprays around the room like worse than Carrie. It, it, the director, I don't get it. If she thought that by going completely over the top, she was being satirical about something, was she satirizing horror movies? Was she just photocopying horror movies? I don't understand what she was doing. Oh, yeah. And I also want to say this. This is network television. And they're doing live nationwide New Year's Eve broadcast. And so they have a bunch of dancers coming out to dance right before the most popular actress in the globe. That's what Margaret Qualley has become over the 6 months. She's been, on the substance. What Demi Moore's better half has become. And every single one of these dancers has a G-string on, and she's topless.
What?
I was not expecting this. The scene caught me by surprise. I did not know going in that there would be a sudden ocean of like 20 topless women. And they were all very, very pretty. The quality of toplessness was top notch. It was the best part of the movie, not to be crude. It was short, but it just kind of caught me off guard that a network television New Year's Eve special would all be topless.
Yeah, that doesn't seem real.
And again, I'm thinking, is this supposed to be satire? Is this a person trying to be clever and failing? Or is this a person trying to be stupid and show how stupid this is and failing? Once again, this is so, for the sake of argument, assume that Hollywood is so over the top with their love of female beauty that they make a network show with nothing but topless women. And seriously, I'm sitting there thinking, even if this was satire, have you watched movies for like the last 30 years? They have almost completely banned female nudity from movies. There are some exceptions, but it is almost completely banned. So you can't satirize something that literally isn't happening. That's not satire. That's raging at, that's not even raging at clouds, because at least clouds are real. That's like the guy on a street corner screaming at things that aren't, just exist in his mind. So, and then, I mean, all of this is in service of making sure you get it, right? Because if you've missed the point for the past 2 hours of the movie, they want to make sure you get the point. So the last point of the movie is she runs out of the theater and she falls to pieces on the sidewalk, and I'm not talking emotionally. Her body literally falls to pieces, chunks of it fall off. So it's just a bunch of different chunks of meat, except the face. And the face squidges along the ground like it was an ooze in a D&D game until it gets to be right on top of her personal star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame with her personal name on it. And then she's just screaming, this face with this little, ring of tissue around it. And then she dies, and the tissue melts away to blood, and the night turns to day. And then a guy comes along with a street sweeper, and he street sweeps all the blood away. And then another guy comes with a polisher, and he polishes up the marble. And then people come and they walk over the star, and it's like she never existed. And that's the end of the movie.
I should have had my camera on so you could see how far my eyes could roll into the back of my head.
Do you get it? Do you
That is
get it? Do you
dreadful.
get it now? Do you get
It's
it?
oh,
Because you didn't get it the rest of the movie.
it's deep. It's real deep, I guess.
So I didn't say whether or not I recommended the movie. I'm just going to respect you more than this film and this director respected the audience and say, I'm leaving this movie up to you. I will leave it up to you to decide if you want to go watch it or not. Okay? I'm going to respect you, the unusually intelligent people of this show, to decide if you want to go see it. I'm not going to give you a recommend or a not recommend. Oh, we've got somebody else in here who saw the movie.
Yeah, thanks for listening, George. the special effects at the end was ass. It made the Tremors worms look like Jurassic Park dinosaurs, I guess.
So that was the substance. And I want to say this. Scavenger's Reign was worse.
No.
So
I saw some artwork when hunting for stuff for the show, and I thought, oh, that looks neat.
it fooled you. That was a lie. That was not neat. This show, this TV show was 12 25-minute episodes, and it was not neat. It was lying to you. Scavenger's Reign was it's about a crew aboard a spaceship who are colonists going to a alien planet to set up a colony, but the ship has some kind of technical malfunction, and some of the crew eject in life pods, but some of the crew don't, and they crash land on an alien planet that is uniformly hostile to human life. And there were 12 25-minute episodes. There were 6 hours of it. And that's the first part where this was worse than the substances. I believe the substance was only 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and Scavenger's Reign was 6 hours long. Scavenger's Reign, all the characters in it act dumb. Whereas in the substance, the characters at least acted in comprehensible ways. That's the sad thing. The agent and the network people want sexy women on the show so they get viewers. That's a comprehensible motivation. The old actress wants to be young and beautiful again so she can be famous. That's a comprehensible motivation. You understand that. The young actress is young again in her early 20s, so she has the poor judgment of an early 20s woman. That explains a lot of her actions, and she gets caught up in the glitz and glamour of being famous and everybody loves her, so she does some dumb things again. She's got the hormones of a 20-year-old again, so she does some dumb things. The director of that movie, as bad as it is, and as much as she was interested in pushing the message, at least gave her characters humanly comprehensible motivations. This show, Scavenger's Reign, was written by people who had heard of human beings and had maybe seen sketches of them, but did not know from firsthand experience how they interacted in the real world. They do not know how human beings talk to each other. They do not know what motivates human beings. And as far as how human beings act when under incredible amounts of pressure, it's a complete mystery to them. None of the characters in the show act like human beings. Oh, here's something else the Substance has that Scavenger's Reign doesn't. It has human beings that look like humans. Demi Moore looks like a beautiful woman who's gotten older. She still has a feminine body because she's Demi Moore. You know, she still has long legs and a tight waist and a nice figure. You know, you can tell she was beautiful. And all, she's not ugly now, she's just older. Margaret Qualley, shapely woman. Is it Dennis Quaid or is that the crazy one?
Dennis Quaid.
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid. You know, looks like an older man. He
It
looks
is
like
Dennis
a
Quaid.
human. Oh, Dennis Quaid. Okay. Dennis Quaid looks like an older man who's trying to look like he's a lot younger. Because that's the way they, you know, cast him in this movie. So he's got artificial tanner on and things like that. And he wears these loud, really ugly, loud suits. So you can tell he's got bad taste in his clothing. That's a human trait that humans have when they go out and human all over the place, like humans, like fellow humans do. In this show, none of the women look like women. Most of them have hair that's cut in military cuts. They don't have long hair. They don't have any distinguishable secondary sexual characteristics, if you understand what I'm saying. And only one of them has hair that's cut longer than her ears, and it's not even to her shoulders. You can't tell they're women, is what I'm trying to say. You can't tell the women are women. And the one guy you can tell is a man because the two guys you can tell they're men because they both have beards. It's awful as far as the humaning goes. And they all act in really bizarre ways. All the things they do are completely, this planet is uniformly lethal. Every single thing on this planet, most of them look charming and wonder-filled and glorious, like there's something from a storybook, like there's something from Winnie the Pooh or something, and they all will kill you in horrible ways. Just the most horrible ways you can imagine. The body horror in a lot of places is really high, but if it's not body horror, it's just outright tearing you to pieces, limb from limb. Or you get in the wrong place with spores and you choke to death, hallucinating, and mold grows out of your body. But the people don't act like they're cautious or terrified. They act like nothing's wrong. They're just all really jejune about it all. They don't take cautions. They poke their fingers and their noses into everybody. They take constant detours into caves and into underneath trees where they don't have to go, down into gullies where there could be anything down there. Who knows? They're constantly doing stupid things that will get them killed. Once again, I judge behavior of fictional characters on whether or not my players would do things like this. And if my players would not behave this stupidly, it's too stupid for fiction. If player characters would be too paranoid to do it, then you're too stupid. And none of my player characters would ever have done any of this. So, yeah, it's dumb. And I thought the show was going to be over by 10 episodes. So by episode 9, I was really happy because I just wanted everybody in the show to die. I wanted all of them to die. I was begging for all of them to die because they all deserved to die, and they were only being saved by accident. They were all dumb. They were all doing dumb things. It was revealed that the reason why they had a disaster and ended up on the planet was because one of them did really dumb things, and he especially deserved to die, but the rest of them weren't real bright. And then I looked by mistake and found out that I had 3 episodes left, not 1. And so I took an hour and a half off, and I had 3 episodes left, and we were getting down to barely an hour and a half before the show. And so I only finished watching like 15 minutes before the show went live. Because I just had to take a break. I had to give my mind a break from watching those last 3 episodes because I was beginning to hate the show. I was beginning to hate watching the show. I was beginning to hate myself for watching the show. It had crossed that black borderline from being, okay, this is interesting, to, okay, this is less interesting, this is stupid, this is painfully boring, this is painful, I hate life. And it's, I just can't recommend this show. There's nothing about this show I can recommend it enough. I'm not saying there are no good things about the show. I am just saying there is nothing good enough about this show that I can recommend it for people to watch. The plot just goes on and on and on in circles and in circles and in circles. It's made up of several overlapping storylines with characters that have no personalities. None. They have no personalities. They are the most bland characters you have ever seen. You know how bad writers will give each character one colorful gimmick to keep you interested in that character so you can hammer that gimmick? These writers didn't even give characters colorful gimmicks to hammer. You know, you can give somebody, okay, they're the snarky one. They're the sincere one. They're the nice one. They're the, nerdy one. They didn't even do that. They didn't even give them the, like, Power Rangers level gimmicks. It was, the characters were boring, so you didn't care about them, so you didn't care if they made it through. And they just kept on throwing nonsensical, random creatures in there that grew beyond alien and grew to be physically impossible. And I'm talking like Alice in Wonderland physically impossible. If you remember in Alice in Wonderland, they had birds that were like, they sucked nectar from trees, but they were really little cups, and the little cups they were buttercups, right? They were little cups with butter in them. They were buttercups, and that was the joke. It was a pun, and that was fine in Alice in Wonderland because Alice in Wonderland was like sort of this fever dream. They had this one plant that was shaped like an umbrella, an upside down umbrella, and in it fish swam. And then every so often it would spout out this black ink. And they had these little flying things that would spin around and fly up. And I swear to all the demons that drove me to watch this show, this black ink fell into the tops of these spinning things because they were shaped like cups, and they spun around and flew away. I didn't deserve this level of punishment. And there were actually a couple of interesting alien creatures, but far too many just passed the line of, not being science fictional aliens, just being random, not even fun to watch, just too bizarre. Like at one time, this lady touches this balled up thing and it all comes unfolding, and then all of these yellow dots come floating out into the air like they're being telekinetically lifted. And then there's this little wizened guy who's literally like half an inch tall, and he stands up and he looks at her, and then nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. And then he lays back down, and all of the tendrils grab each one of these orange glowing floating balls and pull them back inside until it looks exactly like the sling blue flower, and all the petals close up over it. And then she walks out because she took a detour right in the middle of nowhere, walked into something where she knew it wasn't, where there was things she didn't know were there, and she just walked off because she saw a light in the middle of the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. And then she comes out and says, no, that was totally worth it. Something happened. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it, but it was deep and meaningful. And it was like, no, it wasn't. Literally nothing happened. There wasn't even any psychic transfer of information. You disturbed somebody's sleep, and covers came off. He looked at you like, what the hell you doing? Waking me up. I'm tired. And he went back to sleep. That's all that happened. Oh, and by the way, they get cheated out of getting off the planet by sorry, spoiler. Cheated of getting off the planet by this stupid person, which is fine because literally everybody in the entire expedition, including the robot, had been compromised by some biological entity that is literally the most dangerous thing in the galaxy and should never, ever, ever get off the planet. The galaxy should nuke that planet down to the ground because everything on there is infectious and should never be allowed off that planet. So, by the way, the one lady who stole from everybody else and left them to die and got into space, guess what happened to her before she got off the planet?
I hope she brought a sample up with her.
She brought up a sample of a flower up with her and got infected with literally the most dangerous thing in the entire galaxy. It was a biological piece of organism that can infest computers and make them feel things. And I don't just mean emotions and alien thoughts. I mean, it can change computers so the cold metal skin can detect things as if it were organic flesh, as if it had nerves.
That's cool.
So, yeah, that whole planet, literally the most dangerous planet in the galaxy, and you don't even feel bad. Nobody can get off of it because they all deserve to die, and they all should stay on that planet until they all do die, because everything on that planet is the most dangerous organism that exists in the entire galaxy. And by the end of the show, you're just like, holy crap, everyone should die.
Everybody deserves their horrible fate.
Yes. So, I hope there's not a second season of this. I'm not watching a second season of this. I refuse to put myself through another second season of this. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was a mediocre slasher movie that tried to be more clever than it was and turned out to not really be a slasher movie, but everybody died anyway. And it's got that Pete guy off of Saturday Night Live who I really, really dislike. But he got killed early on, so the movie momentarily redeemed itself. That's
Good.
it. So everything this week was awful. And most
Man,
of
you had
it
a
was
really
painful.
rough week, huh?
Yes. I had 10 hours of pain this week.
Ow. I'm sorry to hear that.
That's great. I'm okay.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Well,
The sad thing was,
Go ahead.
there was a movie I wanted to actually see, and now I've completely forgotten about what the movie is. Like I literally went to watch it last night, and I couldn't remember what it was. So I was searching for a movie to watch for like 45 minutes, and finally I saw Bodies, 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 and I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this. That actually sounds interesting. And then I made the mistake of watching it.
Man, big mistake.
Big mistake.
Huge mistake.
It just was.
Everybody, including you, deserves their fate.
Yes. So, you know, please don't do what I did. Save yourselves. Run from this. I just, I'm done. I'm done. That's it. That's all I.
Hey, that's it. I mean, we are done for the week. It was a good show. You definitely took a couple of bullets for the team there, and I'll speak for all of our unusually handsome and intelligent fans when I say that it was worth it. It was totally worth it. So,
It was worth it for you guys.
well, yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
Totally worth it. With like the line from Shrek. That is a sacrifice that I am willing to make. Well, cool. Thanks for hanging out,
What we're doing
DW.
next week.
What are
But
we doing next
hopefully,
week?
I have no idea. That's what I was just saying. Somebody has a. I think I remember somebody had a Kickstarter that was closing that I was thinking about maybe asking them on, but I don't know for sure.
We'll play it like by ear as we always do.
I was really hoping to remember the name of the movie that I wanted to watch so that I could go watch it, but
No worries. I don't have anything on deck. I finally got some free time for myself after lots of personal drama, so I just want to grill, man.
oh, I did want to say, in memoriam, Gene Hackman just passed away, so that was sad. And he was an absolutely fabulous actor. His method of passing was so tragic. And I love Gene Hackman as an actor. He was a great great actor and a genuinely decent human being. And he was in some of my very favorite movies, including the 2 Superman movies from the late 70s and The Replacements.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, The
So,
Replacements was good.
so that really kind of hit me hard. I'm sorry, and I know it didn't hit as hard as it did for his family, but I really, I was really sad about that. So rest in peace, sir.
Rest in peace, man.
And that's it for this week.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out in chat. George, welcome to the show. Simon Hogwood and Bradford Walker and everybody else who listened live. You guys are awesome. And I hope everybody who listened later got to this show before they saw these movies and these shows. I hope you came here first when you said, man, I know it's got a 78% on the tomato meter, but I really trust the Geek Gab guys. I want to know what Daddy Warpig thinks. I do hope that you did that. But if not, hey, you learned your lesson. Tune in next week. I'm done.
Or is there even anything in theaters to be watched?
No.
Here, let me look at Rotten Tomatoes. Now in theaters. Black Bat.
This is the dead season. They just had the Oscars. Summer blockbusters aren't coming out yet. It's going to be dead. They're going to any movie in there is just getting dumped off.
In the Lost Lands. That looked awful, but the kind of awful that might actually be worth seeing, but probably not. I mean, it's one of those movies that might actually be really, truly terrible, but could also be a surprise and be decent, but probably not.
Probably not.
It looks it's all.
It's pretty dreary out there.
Yeah. Wow, it looks like I got really lucky with Last Breath last week. Oh, wait, what's coming out in March? There's something coming out in March. Oh no, that's an audiobook. That's not a movie. There's an audiobook I've been wanting to listen to that's coming out in the second half of March. Boy, howdy, that's how bad movies have gotten.
Yup.
I'm looking forward to audiobooks now. You know how long I've been listening to audiobooks?
It's been like 2 months now.
2-3 months. Yeah, exactly. That's how long it's been since movies have finally kicked me out of being a regular moviegoer. Is how long I've been listening to audiobooks. That is not an accident. Those two things. Oh, Daredevil Born Again came out.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Nope.
That was less an announcement and more of a suggestion.
Oh, was that for me?
Sure. Well, now that you say it, that sounds like a great idea.
Sounds dreadful. I'll try and fit it in.
Okay, let's go. I've been wasting the last 9 minutes of this show. We've been dragging it out. We should have gone away a long time ago. Folks, thank you for tuning in. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, March 10th, 2025. We are signing out for today, but don't you worry, don't you fret. We will be back.